All right, who's ready to do this? Another night, another win. Figured a Saturday wrap-up show is in order after today because the Padres are just playing as good of a baseball as anyone right now in the major leagues, and they're doing it on the road. So John Schaefer with you here on the wrap-up show. We do not have Jim at least to start. So we'll see if Jim makes his way in. Again, he's in Northern California, his brother's graduation. If you missed yesterday's show, it's a must-watch. So if you missed yesterday because Jim showed up drunk about halfway through, that became kind of the story of yesterday's wrap-up show. That may or may not happen again. If it doesn't happen again, we're going to spend the next hour talking about the Padres and Joe Musgrove. If it does happen, we'll spend the next hour talking about Jim being drunk, the Padres, and Joe Musgrove as well. So John Schaefer with you, as always. As you make your way in, please subscribe. We have year-round Padres content for you. If you're watching on replay, please make sure to subscribe. Please hit the notification bell. You'll be notified when we go live or have new videos. You can smash that like button. That helps us a lot. Please follow us on Twitter as well, at John Schaefer, at Jim Russell SD, our radio show, at John and Jim. As a one-man band, if you want to make sure I get your comment, please consider the super chat function here tonight. We greatly appreciate that as well. If you're watching on replay, we appreciate the thanks as well. There's a thanks button down below. We appreciate if you check out that thanks button as well. So there's a lot to get into. As you make your way in, please let me know where you are watching from. We'll try to get to some shout-outs here today. I don't know if we got to some shout-outs yesterday, as you just get carried away with what this team is doing right now. 26-14. Winning on the road, winning without Fernando Tatis Jr., winning with starting pitching, winning at times without their manager because of prostate surgery, like winning close games. What's different between last year and this year? They had Tatis in the first half last year. They don't have Tatis right now. They had excellent relief pitching last year that was carrying them. This is really being carried by starting pitching. 21 quality starts, the most in baseball. So you get the point. It feels different. I know it's only one quarter of the season, but we've hit that point. We're 40 games in. We've hit that point. We're 40 games in. We'll get past one quarter tomorrow. And here we go. So one quarter in. Again, the Padres were playing good baseball a year ago, one quarter in. See if they can play a better final, 3 quarters of the season than they did a season ago. So again, John Schaefer with you. Let's start with the shout-outs. And I'll tell you about our title sponsor, Mark Nimitz, who again is the reason why we're probably able to put this show on night in and night out. And thank you, by the way. This is... I got the pink brim, Tatis side logo, Billion Creation, great location down in Chula. I saw they had a new release today. Big supporter. They don't pay me to say that, just big supporter. Thank you for saying that. Yep, pink under brim, Tatis side logo, great cap. So thank you for saying that. Jake, awesome to have you with us. Awesome to have you with us, watching and driving in Phoenix here tonight. Thank you for doing that. Be safe. Please be safe. As a good follower of the show, Doran. Thank you for your support of the show. Thank you for your interaction on Twitter as well. Thanks for hanging out in New York. Pretty late night, midnight in New York. Gabe, awesome to have you in Tijuana. We have a lot of our listeners. Excuse me. We've said it before. We probably have somewhere between 10 and 15% of our viewers and listeners from Tijuana and from Mexico. So it's great to have you guys with us here today. Yes, we're going to get to, I see this from Michael. I promise you we'll get to Joe. I promise you we'll get to Joe. I have tons of thoughts on it. I'm going to spend a lot of time on Joe here today. Phil, thanks for hanging out in OB. What's going on from Seattle? Yes, I saw this from Manny. We will get to that. Pay that man. That's got to be a shirt, by the way. Got to be a shirt. Carter, thanks for being with us as always from San Diego. Daniel's here in Mission Valley. Michael is in West Jordan, Utah, via Mira Mesa. Very cool. Gabe, yep, Manny said it. He's the king of San Diego, right? Joe Musgrove. Donnie's in Vegas. Good to have you with us in Vegas tonight. We got Frank in Spirit Lake, Idaho. This is a really good point. Now, remember, 24-14 had matched the best start in franchise history. They're now 26-14, so I'm not sure if they've surpassed it. Now, remember, they would get to 35-19 last year, so Padres still have a lot of work to do to get to 35-19 from 26-14. What's the math on that? They'd have to go 9-5 or something better than that to keep that going. So it's right there, though. To your point, it's right there. If it's not the best start, it's tied for the best start, and it's one of the top 3 starts in the history of the franchise. We'll see if they can keep it going. I do too. Yeah, big fan of the pink brim. Let's get to our first super of the night. It's awesome to have Michael with us in the chat. Michael's been a longtime viewer and supporter and super chatter. So, Michael, great to have you with us tonight. Thank you for the super chat. For anyone here, we greatly appreciate the super chats. Great way to communicate with the show day in and day out. If you want to make sure I get your comment here tonight, please consider that super chat function. So Michael starts us off with the theme of the night. Musgrove really good today. I hope Gore can do the same thing tomorrow. We will see Gore tomorrow. They will move back Mike Clevenger and Blake Snell. They'll play the long game, which I think makes a lot of sense. They're going to play something like 40 games in 40 days or 41 games in 42 days, something along those lines. You guys have seen it. There's a couple of double headers in there. There's an off day or two. But with the double header, it's basically a game a day for the better part of the next 5 or 6 weeks. So I think the long game makes sense. They're relying heavily on starting pitching. They'll continue to do that. And I think it makes sense that Mackenzie Gore is starting right now based on what he's done. If they need to piggyback him at times to save innings, that makes sense as well. But the story, Michael, and you know it, and the story for everyone here on the wrap-up show tonight is starting pitching. And whether it's Joe Musgrove, they're 8-0 in his 8 starts. I mean, they're 8-0. He's had 8 quality starts. And he's 5-0 overall. He's got a 1.9 ERA. He's got a sub-1 whip. Like, you can't pitch better than Joe Musgrove over a 2-month period of time. You can't do it. It's very difficult to do anything near this. So it's Musgrove. It's even Mania yesterday. Yeah, he goes, allows the 4 runs, but he goes 6 innings, and he's giving you a chance to win because when you have a starting pitcher go 6 innings, that gives you a chance to win. Obviously, Yu Darvish has thrown very well other than one start at Oracle this year. Mackenzie Gore's thrown very well. Nick Martinez has thrown very good, well. Mike Clevenger, I think I've been impressed by, and I think most Padres fans have been impressed by Clevenger. Snell's the wild card. But if you got 7 starters and 6 are pitching effectively for you, you're better off than 99.9% of teams in baseball in 2022. So thank you again, Michael, for that super chat. Back to some of these shout-outs. Christian is in CV. Rick is in Chula. Let's see. We got our buddy Faye with us. Thank you, Faye, for hanging out. Is that Manila? Am I saying that right? Manila Mesa? Faye, thanks for hanging, Faye. We've got Marietta with us. Sarah Mesa. Yeah, Michael is a supporter of the channel, has picked up some wrap-up show merch. There's a link down below if you want to check out the wrap-up show merch. We do not have this pink brim San Diego cap, Padres cap, in our merch site, but we do have a lot of wrap-up show merch. John and Jim merch, please support the channel. Great way to do it. There's a link down below. Sacramento, what's up, Ron? Michael's in Carlsbad. Michael's always great to have you. Great to have you with us here tonight. Robbie's in, let's see. This is all flying by now. Riverside. I do need to, Gabe. I'd love to do that. I no question about it. I really want to do that. I've been to Tijuana a few times with my wife here during the pandemic. We've probably been down there maybe 4 times in the last 2 years. We absolutely love it. We absolutely love it. We need to get down, and we will do that. Nabi is in Idaho Falls. Here's a Toro supporter. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. There's some comments on Jim. We'll see if Jim makes it into the chat or not. Thank you, Cam, for the super chat here, Cam. Again, we appreciate those super chats. There's a link down below if you want to click the super chat, that $ button. Great way to support this channel. Cam says, pay Big Joe now. Keep him home. Drunk Jim forever. Again, if you missed last night, he put some highlights of it, by the way, on Twitter and Instagram and our TikTok pages at John and Jim. So you can check that out. It was, some people said the best show ever. It was comical. It was definitely comical last night. And yeah, if they don't pay Joe now, what's it going to cost later? And we'll get into that. If they do not pay Joe now, I made an argument all offseason they should have paid him previously. I thought it was priority number 1 of last offseason. If you heard me on the radio, and I know a lot of people did, if you watched me on the wrap-up show, and I know a lot of you did, you know what I've said for months and months and months. You're playing with fire. And not only are you playing with fire, you are impacting the rest of your roster, because even if you do keep them, which I think ultimately they will, you're impacting the ability to pay other players that you're going to need to pay, because there's a lot of free agents coming up on this team. Let's see here. Michael says, I missed this. Uncle Teddy tweeted that the 2021 Padres were 11 over 500 May 21st. This team is now 12 games over 500, so very, very similar at this point. We have Louisville in the house. We have Denver. We have Honolulu. Awesome to have you in Honolulu. Cool. Thank you, Faye. I wasn't sure. I was not sure. But thanks for hanging out with us tonight. Alex, yes. Thank you. So typically, I've talked about this a ton. We're having work done. I'll tell you about Mark Nimitz, our title sponsor. He's made this super simple. He saved us all this money on our insurance claim. We had some flooding because of a drain issue. And I was just looking at floors today. We're going to have all new floors put in. We're having our ceilings painted. I got windows put in just randomly because my wife has been wanting windows for years. So this whole place is being redone. But the wrap-up show continues. And my wife would appreciate that because she takes a lot of pride in the kitchen. So thank you for saying that, Alex. Austin's in Santee, Temecula, Rancho Santa Margarita in the house. Jake with the super, driving in Phoenix tonight. Thank you, Jake. As always, good to have you with us here tonight as we just get started. Grisham, okay, with the heads-up bunting with one out, first and third, the safety squeeze, and bunting again later. He needs a AAA assignment to fix his head. Pitching has been the story, obviously, go Pods. Well, the one Grisham bunt, which I can recall right now off the top of my head that scored that second run, the safety squeeze was impactful, obviously. They needed that second run to win the game. Now, is he in his own head? I think he is, to your point. I mean, he's just not right at the plate. There's no question about that. And how is it going to get fixed? I don't know. I will say this. When you have a player struggling as mightily as Trent Grisham is struggling, but you're winning, it's really masked as opposed to the opposite. If this team was middling or losing close games or Trent Grisham was costing them games, completely different story, but you can get away with it. I mean, listen, you're never going to have all 9 players in your lineup playing good baseball at the same time, even good teams. That's very rare. Trent Grisham is just in one right now. I mean, it's a 40-game slump to start a season. So any way he can help you win a baseball game, as he did today with the safety squeeze, I think you got to take. But, I mean, when you just look at batting average and slugging it on base, it's not good. It's not good. Has he played good defense? We got into this last night. He has. He's played good defense by and large. I think there's been some plays he probably would want back. But he's played some good defense. But I'm with you, Jake. It's a little head-scratching the way he's playing or the way he's hitting. But, again, anything you get on him right now that's helping you win a baseball game, I think you'll take. And you're 26-14. It would be way, way different if you weren't, you know. Let me continue to get through this chat here as you guys continue to comment. So that's Santucky Santee for the casuals. Robertson, Utah. No, I'd prefer not, to be honest. Although, Raven, if you were here every day, 3-year-old, married, entire house is like completely like being redone, man. I got to take some deep breaths. Occasionally. Yeah, no, I mean, I think Jake agrees. The bunt was huge. I mean, the safety squeeze today was huge. No question about it. And that's what I was saying. I mean, you got to compliment any play that Trent Grisham's making right now at the plate that helps you win a baseball game. Again, if you look at the other at-bats, you know, what was he in this game? 0 for 3? Was he 0 for 4? Let me take a look. He's 0 for 3, but he had that safety squeeze. So that's a big reason why the Padres won. They're playing good team baseball, you know? And yeah, you just look at the numbers, say Trent Grisham isn't playing good baseball, and that's fair, but he might be the reason why you won this game, or one of the reasons why you won this game, which is significant, obviously, because we're in the business of winning right now. You know, I'd rather have them winning than having Trent Grisham hitting 275 right now. Sneaker Side Hustle is in Boise. There's not a piggyback tomorrow, Brian. It's going to be Gore starting. I don't believe it's a piggyback tomorrow. I think they'll go to their bullpen tomorrow. They've gotten such good starting pitching. I mean, they got 6 innings yesterday from Minaya. They got 7 innings today from Musgrove. I think tomorrow, whatever you get out of Gore, if it's a little shortened, because I think he's still fully built up because he just made 1 outing, in relief. So I think he's still fully built up. So let's say you could give him 90 pitches. Hopefully he gives you 5 innings. And then you just go to your bullpen. And if he doesn't give you 5 innings, I think you go to your bullpen a little earlier. And your bullpen by and large is rested. I mean, they've used him a little bit here and there the last couple of days. But with the piggybacks, I think the bullpen has been rested. I don't have it in front of me. I want to say it's Clevenger Monday, Snell Tuesday. Can someone put that in the chat? Is that correct? Is it Clevenger Monday, Snell Tuesday? I think what they're trying to do here, Brian, is just give guys the extra day. I think they're trying to give Clevenger the full 5 days off. I think they're trying to give Snell the full 5 days off. It's a long year, not a lot of off days right now. They're playing the long game. And I think, honestly, because they're winning, I think it makes sense. Let's get back to another super chat here from Michael. Michael, thank you again for the super chat. Again, if you're just making your way into the chat, great way to support the channel is with the super chat function by clicking that $ down below. Also, if you are here live, please subscribe. We are doing this on Saturday nights and all season long and all off season long because of your support of this channel. So please subscribe, hit the notification bell, smash the like button, and follow us on Twitter at John Schaefer, at Jim Russell SD. By the way, it is Clevenger Monday. Thank you, Raven. So, Michael, back to the super chat. Will we trade for Soto before the trade deadline? Okay, so if you've been watching and following and reading, this has been talked about this week. Do I find it highly likely that Juan Soto will be moved at all this year? I don't. Buster only wrote about it, though, on ESPN+. I thought it was interesting. He said the Nationals could be compelled to trade star slugger, and there's a number of reasons. They're not a very good baseball team right now. Soto, the way to get max value for him is probably by trading sooner rather than later because he's still controllable for the next 2.5 years. They have an ownership change that's happening. I don't know if that makes it more or less likely. You could argue both sides of that. They have a GM that's going to change potentially at the end of the year. I don't know if that makes it more or less likely. You could argue both sides of that. And they have a manager that could change at the end of the year as well, in Dave Martinez. It's a team that's double digits under 500 already. Now, they've been there before. I mean, in 2019, they were double-digit games under 500, and they ended up winning the World Series. This is a completely different story. They don't have that starting pitching. Their lineup was completely ripped apart at the trade deadline last year. I personally believe, Michael, that Soto will be moved, but I don't know if it's going to be 2022. I would lean more towards 2023 than 2022. I don't think it'll be a long-term extension in DC unless they sell the team and the new owner wants to put a statement on the franchise and shell over $400 or $500 million. I think the Nats' way has been to let some of these players go. They did it with Bryce Harper. So I'd be surprised if Soto was moved, if I'm being honest, this season. Whenever he is moved, though, if he is indeed moved, A.J. Preller will call. That's all we can say. Can't say that A.J. Preller is going to land him. This is a generational player. It could take ridiculous levels of talent to acquire a player like this. This is a deal that's comparable to, I mean, Mookie Betts, when he was moved from Boston to L.A., was not 23 years of age. You know, he was in his mid-20s. He was 26 or 27. When Max Scherzer and Trey Turner were moved to L.A., it was a rental for Scherzer and a year and a half for Turner. This is different if you move Soto right now. 23 years of age, 2.5 years of control. It's going to take moving a farm to get him, and it's worth a call. That's what I would say. Do I think it's going to happen personally? No, I really don't. But I wouldn't say never. I absolutely wouldn't say never. Quan is in Claremont. Good to have you with us, Quan, as always. Let me fly up here in the chat. There's a lot going on. Okay, so let's get into it. Excuse me. Let's get into it here. Before we do that, and I want to start with Musgrove. I always want to tell you about our title sponsor, Mark Nimitz. I mentioned briefly that Mark Nimitz is the title sponsor of our YouTube channel. He's the reason we got this thing off the ground probably 8-9 months ago at this point. I switched my insurance over to him, let's say 4 or 5 months ago. I had a claim, and he's literally saved me thousands of dollars. Even just on your insurance, he's going to save you $750. Auto, home, renters, life, earthquake insurance. I have homeowners and earthquake through Mark. So I was saving money already, and then I have this claim, and I'm getting floors, and I'm getting the ceiling done, I'm getting cabinets repaired on this island back here, and he's saving me thousands of dollars. I'm not kidding. I mean, he's literally saving me thousands and thousands of dollars. If you're a San Diegan, he's a San Diegan. If you're a Padres fan, he's a Padres fan. His website's at the link down below. Get a quote, find out the address and the phone number, the email, get in contact with him. I mean, if you have any insurance needs, I really would encourage you to get in contact with him. Just an unbelievable guy with great service and communication, prides himself on doing this stuff the right way. So if you have any needs, any insurance needs, Mark Nimitz at Farmers Insurance, you can just call him and talk Padres. I promise you, he's not a high-pressure salesman. Just call him and talk to him about Joe Musgrove. He'll spend 30 minutes with you talking about Joe Musgrove and say thanks for watching the wrap-up show and hanging out, and contact me if you ever need anything. So, again, Mark Nimitz and Farmers Insurance, our title sponsor. Thank you for your support of the channel and for our viewers. If you ever need anything, great way to support the channel. Sorry about that. All right, so back to it. This question about where's Drunk Jim, somewhere in Northern California with his brother. Somewhere in Northern California, his brother graduating from college earlier today. Okay, let me get back to the super chat from Spenny Bats. Thank you, Spencer. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you guys for the super chats here tonight. All right, so he says, I love that we are road dogs this year. Not like road underdogs, like road dogs. It's such a breath of fresh air. Also, we need to pay Rogers and Joe. All right, so let's get into it when it comes to Musgrove. And thank you again for the super chat, Spencer. Here's the thing with Musgrove. I think the priority heading into 2022 was Musgrove, but you had a lockout that got in the way of things. And that probably shortened your ability to get a deal done. Then you ended up in spring training. I think they did have discussions that eventually were tabled heading into the season. And Joe Musgrove has said, listen, I would still entertain those extension conversations if it was something that was compelling. I'm paraphrasing, but something along those lines. So the fact that they did not get it done in the offseason is going to be very consequential. How consequential? I don't know. It's going to cost them more money. I can promise you that. How much more money? I don't know. I said in the offseason he was a pitcher that was capable of garnering 5 years, $100 million. I thought it was deserved. I thought he'd get as a free agent, if not more than that, heading into 2022. I will double down on that right now, and I would go further. I think that if he gets to free agency, you will pay dearly to keep him. And it will cost you other players that could be impactful for you moving forward, whether that's Mike Clevenger, Sean Manaea, or Taylor Rogers, or other potential free agents, would-be free agents out there, or your ability to retain some of the talent on your team moving forward. If there's a hometown discount, folks, it's going to be pennies. It's going to be pennies. He's not taking sizably less to stay here. I think ultimately, because of the way he's pitched over these last 2 years, he's going to get every penny that he deserves. I personally think it's the right thing. And this is what the Players Union would ask of a player in his situation. Now, here's what's happened. Not only do we all know that Joe Musgrove is worth every penny, and he could command probably, he's going to command 22 to 25 per year in the open market. I guarantee it. Someone would quote unquote overpay. And I don't even think it's overpaying for him. So if you can get it done for 5,100, or you could get to the table at 5,100, you got to get to the table because it's only getting more expensive. And when you let other teams get involved, like the Dodgers and like the Red Sox and the Yankees and the Giants, it's very easy for someone to make an offer that is going to be hard to match. It's very easy for something like that to happen. I mean, who's to say, excuse me, who's to say that someone doesn't throw out a sixth year? Who's to say someone doesn't throw out a seventh year? Who's to say someone doesn't go up to 25 a year? I mean, who's to say that? Not everyone's in the same CBT situation as the Padres are, which is kind of up against it. Some teams are going to have money to spend. You see some of these dollars per year the pitchers have gotten. Scherzer, Bauer. I mean, these are crazy numbers. And Musgrove is pitching like one of the better pitchers right now in baseball. We'll see if that continues over the course of the year, but I wouldn't be shocked if someone offered 6,150. I mean, that might sound crazy to people. I mean, maybe that's a little high. I mean, 5,130, 5,120. I wouldn't be utterly shocked. So if you want this guy to stay in your uniform, or if you don't want it to hurt you on the other side just by keeping him, but it impacts your ability to win long-term as well and re-sign other players, you got to get this deal done. It's as simple as that. I'm sitting down at the table with him. And now, is this the best time to negotiate if you're the Padres when he started 5-0 with a 1-9 and 8 consecutive quality starts? But he was willing to negotiate with you in good faith this offseason. And you were nowhere near his asking price. Dennis Lynn at The Athletic and others at that site have reported they offered somewhere in the neighborhood of $11 million per year. That's not good enough. That's not getting someone like Joe Musgrove to the table. I mean, that's, to put it bluntly, kind of comical to consider that $11 million a year would get it done. I think, honestly, we might end up at a point where it might be comical to consider $15 million a year, $17 million a year. You got guys making $40 million a year. You don't think he's worth 20? I'm talking to the Padres. You don't think he's worth 22? We had Kyle Glazer, Baseball America, on last week. He said bottom of the starting range was probably 595, and he's now pushing. He's thinking it's a $100 million deal. We had Kevin Acee say earlier this week, can the Padres afford to keep him? But then again, can they afford not to keep him? It's one of these linchpin keystone pieces where he's got to be here. And the reason I say that now, and you could argue, well, he's this, that, he doesn't strike out a lot of guys. I mean, there's a zillion things you could argue if you really want to argue them. But let me put it this way. They want him in the clubhouse, and they've made it publicly known. That ups the ante now for the Padres to act and to retain and to make him happy. How do I know that? Because Manny Machado spoke publicly after this game. He was asked about it. He said, what can you say about Joe? Joe's been doing it all year, and he's been doing it for the last 2 years. He said, pay that man. He said, pay that man again. This is Manny Machado now speaking. Eric Hosmer said, whatever it takes after today's game. This is a conversation point in the clubhouse. This is a clubhouse that's rowing all in the same direction. You better keep them rowing in the same direction. Okay? This is important. I'm not saying it has to get done in the season, but if it doesn't, you're kind of asking for it and you're going to pay in the offseason. He has to stay here. I think it's in their best interest to do everything in their power to get this done during the season. But when Manny Machado speaks, Padres front office should be listening, because Manny Machado can open up his deal after a fifth year. I don't think he's going to. I think he's going to finish his career here. But we know how this works. This is a big boy world. This is professional sports. So he's got leverage. Players have a lot of leverage. Fernando Tatis Jr. has leverage. Manny Machado has leverage. Joe Musgrove has leverage. When Manny Machado speaks publicly, the front office listens. I think it's as simple as that. And when Manny Machado says, get it done, and he was asked, what's he worth? He said, at least 20. Manny Machado said at least 20. I've been saying at least 20 all off season. Get this deal done. Get this deal done is what I would say. So those are my 2 cents. I don't know if you guys feel similarly or differently. I've got a lot more on it, to be honest with you, because I think that you got a situation where you got Manaea as a free agent, you got Clevenger as a free agent, you got Rogers as a free agent. Musgrove might cost you a Manaea or a Clevenger or a Rogers, but it all starts with Musgrove. That's why he's a keystone. If you don't have Musgrove, where's your starting point? I mean, Musgrove has been the ace of this staff for the last 2 years. Sean Manaea has not. Now, could he grow into that, being that pitcher? Yeah, maybe. Mike Clevenger has not. Could he grow into that pitcher? Potentially. But for me, it starts with Joe Musgrove. And by the way, if you need some more financial flexibility, we'll see about Blake Snell's third year, his final year, 2023. We'll see about Yu Darvish's final year in 2023. I know The Athletic has reported that the Padres could have an interest in moving one or both of those pitchers in the offseason. I think Dennis Lin, I'm paraphrasing, but Dennis Lin has written about that. He wrote about it again today. But I say pay that man. I mean, he's too impactful. He's too important for this team to risk losing. He just is. He's too important for the city. And again, I don't think it's going to be much of a hometown discount, but I think that what are your alternatives? Not having Joe Musgrove? I mean, is that a good way to start 2023 in anyone's mind? Not for me. It really isn't. With an aging Yu Darvish, with an inconsistent Blake Snell, with a great young pitcher in Mackenzie Gore, that's great. Well, Sean Manaea, if you can keep him, Mike Clevenger, if you can keep him. But, I mean, it looks a lot different for me without Joe Musgrove. It really does. Okay, let me get to another super here from Spenny Bats. Thank you, Spencer. Thank you guys for the super chats here tonight. Again, if you're just making your way into the chat, live or on replay, please subscribe. We have year-round Padres content for you. Please consider the super chat. It's a great way to support this channel. I'm able to see all the super chats a lot easier, especially doing this one-man band show. I see all the comments rolling in. It's hard to get to them all. So if you do the super chat, I will make sure to get to your super chat here tonight. And again, please smash the like button. Follow us on Twitter at John Schaefer, at Jim Russell SD. So Spencer says, on top of this, I can see a deep playoff run helping us may create a bigger desire for him to stay. Listen, I think there's a strong desire on his part to stay, right? Being a San Diegan, being a part of a winning franchise like the Padres hopefully are in right now in 2022 and moving forward with Tatis, Machado, and others, Gore. So I don't know if the deep playoff run is going to help the Padres get Musgrove done for any less money, right? I mean, if this gets all the way to free agency and Musgrove now is an important piece in your postseason as well, the price is only going up. There's no reason to believe there's any scenario where the price goes down outside of injury, and nobody in the world wants that. You're going to need him in 2022. You want this guy pitching to this level of effectiveness all year long. With that being said, it was only a risk. That was always the risk heading into the year. It was always a risk heading into the year that he's going to pitch like the pitcher he was a year ago. And whatever you could have gotten him for in the offseason, I think they probably could have got it done for, I mean, 5 for 85, right? 5 for 90, 4 for 70, right? 4 for 60. I think they probably could have thrown something in front of him like that and probably come to terms. Don't you? He's off that really good 2021, but hadn't consistently shown it over, 2 or 3 consecutive years. Had a good 2020 as well. I think they could have found a common ground, 16, 17, 18 a year, somewhere in there, 4 or 5 years. And he would have said, you know what? You've got Joe Musgrove locked up long-term. It's impacting our CBT. It's impacting our ability to spend right now. But we got Joe Musgrove locked up at an affordable rate. Now, they didn't do that, knowing that Hosmer, $7 million come off the books next year. Myers coming off the books next year. That's another 20. You're getting $27 million in savings. But they don't want to throw it all into Musgrove. That was the problem. If they had the 27 last offseason under the CBT, I think they put 16 of it to Musgrove. But they didn't have the 27 under the CBT. It would have put them over the CBT, and they would have been taxed on it. Now they've waited on it and said, well, we can avoid the tax. I'm speculating, obviously, but this is my assumption. Now they're saying we can save the CBT. We're going to get some relief here. The problem is the 16 you were going to spend on Musgrove is now becoming 22. Right? The 15 you were going to spend on Musgrove is now becoming 23. They weren't planning on spending the 27 in savings from Myers and Hosmer on one player, obviously, and understandably makes sense, but they might find themselves in that unenviable position is the way I look at it, So, I'm looking at the chat right now to see what people are saying. I mean, is there anyone that you can just put, is there anyone that wants to really go into 2023 without him and say, well, you know what? You got the best of them. You got age 29, you got age 30 out of them, or age 28, 28, and 29. And you know what? If it is going to cost 175 to keep them and someone's going to quote unquote overpay, all right, then you know what? We can spend that money on Clevenger, Manaea. Like, let's just go through that hypothetical. You lose Musgrove, you keep Manaea and Clevenger. You have you have Darvish, you have Snell, and you have Gore. You have Mora home. You have potentially Nick Martinez, although I think they'll 3 weeks of sickness. Getting over it, but 3 weeks of sickness. You got 6, 7 arms. You do. I just don't think it's as desirable, and there's question marks. There's question marks with Snell. There's question marks, I think, with Nick Martinez potentially as well, although I think he's proven a lot of doubters wrong here to start his time in the big leagues with the Padres. I don't think anyone really wants to see it, I really don't. Sorry. Solo shows. So that's kind of the shtick on Musgrove. But again, I think when Machado talks, you listen, right? I think Peter Seidler's listening. I think AJ Preller's listening. When Tatis talks, I think you kind of hear him out, right? And that's the state of affairs right now. Like this chat, Musgrove, Darvish, Manaea, Gore, Mora home, 2023, you'd be without where Clevenger in that scenario. I think that's a really good rotation. Probably still one of the best in baseball. But for me, it all starts with Musgrove. It's just, it's different. Frank says, am I crazy preferring Clevenger over? Okay, so this is different. I think Frank's saying just Clevenger over Manaea, but not over Musgrove. I don't think it's crazy at all. I don't think it's crazy. I like the way Manaea has pitched. The numbers aren't perfect, but he's a workhorse. I love a guy that's able to go 6 innings. I think the difference right now for me is that Manaea is the guy that's going to give you another 15 or 20 pitches over Clevenger. That might change next year as Clevenger continues to come off this elbow surgery, but I don't think that's crazy at all. I will screenshot this and send it to Jim. I will screenshot that. Thanks for hanging out. Well, this is fair. This is fair too, Jeff. I'm not overly opposed to that. I would always say, find me the best 5, whether they're righties or lefties, but that is a fair point. Yeah, it starts with Joe, Yeah, I was solo last night until Jim showed up drunk. And I'm with Carter. I've made this point a lot over the last couple of years here in San Diego on the radio and doing the wrap-up show as well on the radio and on YouTube. We've been waiting a long time, folks. A lot of people in here have been waiting a lot longer than I have. But when you start talking about generation after generation, window after window, opportunity after opportunity, and I've said recently, is this about a window or winning? What's this about? Is this about 2025 or is this about 2022? Now, the thing with Musgrove is he can help you win in 2022, and he can help you win in 2025. So I'm not saying put all of your eggs in the 2022 basket and then punt on the future. But what I am saying is there comes a time where you need to put all of your focus and energy in winning in present day. And maybe this is that time. I don't know the answer to that. I really, truly believe AJ Preller tried to steal a World Series in 2020 and just you miss 1,000% of the shots you don't take. I don't fault the shot he took. He got an ace in Clevenger. He had an ace in Dinelson Lamet. They both were hurt. And they lost in the divisional series. And they were beaten badly and soundly by the Dodgers. I contend to this day that if Clevenger and Lamet were Clevenger and Lamet of the season of 2020 were pitching to their abilities, the Padres could have won that series and potentially gotten to a World Series or won it. We'll never know. We'll never know. Did the Dodgers have a better pitching staff, obviously, in that series? I mean, it was night and day. Now, what is different between the 2020 postseason and now? The Padres pitching staff and the rotation. So I believe this is a rotation, and Jim has said the same thing. I believe it's a rotation that could compete in the postseason and help potentially make noise. It's impossible to say for any team in May that, hey, I believe this team is going to win a World Series. Nobody should say that about any team. I was shocked that Dave Roberts said in March that, the Dodgers are going to win the World Series. I mean, comments like that are ridiculous. There's so much that goes into this. We all know that. There are teams that win 110 games that don't make World Series. The Mariners 20 years ago, the Giants and the Dodgers last year, 107 wins and 106 wins, respectively. Neither of them played in the World Series. Atlanta won it, winning less than 90 games. So there's a lot of twists and turns that go into this. With all that being said, put yourself in the best position to win. And I feel as if today they've put themselves in a position where they can win, and they can win right now. Do they need to address some of this offense? Yeah, probably. Will the offense get better with Tatis? Yes. Has the bullpen been perfect? It has not. Has Taylor Rogers been perfect? Yeah, by and large. By and large, he has been. So, we'll see. I think I would say this. Let's enjoy this 2022. Let's enjoy these games. Let's enjoy this start to the season. Because truth be told, this has been as good of a start as you could ask for. I mean, the Padres have, I think, the second most wins in the National League to the Mets, tied with the Dodgers with 26 wins. The Dodgers are technically a game up as they're two better in the loss column. Dodgers are 26-12. The Padres are 26-14, although I don't know if the Dodgers won today playing the Phillies. I want to say they did. They did, right? They beat the Phillies 7-4. Do I have that? So, I mean, Dodgers are rolling. 27-12, a game and a half better than the Padres. But you don't even worry about it yet. If the Padres keep playing the baseball they're playing, they'll be in a position where they can be within arm's range, or striking distance. And they'll get Fernando Tatis Jr. back, and they'll play the Dodgers a zillion times. So we can't worry about the Dodgers right now. Truth is, you get into the postseason, you can win the World Series. Look at Atlanta. Look at the Giants a number of times. So wild card. There are others as well. Okay. So again, if you are just making your way into the chat, if you want to make sure I get your comment, you can use that super chat function. It is always appreciated. Again, if you are here on replay, please make sure to hit that thanks button as well. I do want to tell you about our partner at Ora Organic as well. I was talking to their co-founder, Will, earlier today. Just a great guy. They run a great company. They really do. If you click this Take the Quiz button down below, you're going to get 30% off your first order. This is an amazing company if you're looking to improve your health and nutrition this year, because they've got all of these supplements that are entirely plant-based. Every single one of their products is plant-based. So it's good for you or your spouse or your children, whether it's probiotics. And I am a huge believer in probiotics. I've been taking one every single day for 10, 11 years. It could be longer than that, since probably my 20s. Good for digestion, good for heart health and mental clarity. And there's so many reasons. There's so many reasons to take probiotics. They've got a plant-based one that is just terrific. They have proteins that we take. They have pre-workout supplements. They have omega-3 oils. If you typically take fish oils, you should consider their omega-3 oils. They have sleep supplements. They have immunity supplements. I mean, while you're here and watching, you can get to their site. There's a link down below. You can shop and you can browse and you can learn and you can save money. And their co-founder, Will, is this huge Padres fan. He's a San Diegan. He's got an office in San Diego. He's always in the chat. He's always in the channel. Great way to support this channel. If you have health needs in 2022, please consider ora.organic. That is ora.organic. And there's a link down below. All right, so let's get back to the chat here. And a couple of other things here today that I've written down. Okay, let's talk about Machado for a second. So Machado, another huge hit, obviously, because he homers in this game to give you a lead. It was his first home run in something like 50 plate appearances or 50 at-bats. It's off Carlos Rodon, who's had an excellent year. He went 6 innings today, allowed just those 2 runs and falling to 4-3. Rodon, as Musgrove bested him, 7 innings, 4 hits, no runs. But Machado, obviously, with that massive moment in this game. You look at Machado's year, his OPS is over 1,000. He's leading the National League still an average at 358. He is playing every single day. He is the definitive de facto leader of this team right now, along, I think, in the pitching staff with Joe Musgrove. But, I mean, this is Manny's team. Manny Machado, pushing 30 years of age, played the best baseball of his career, trying to really fully stamp his legacy by doing one thing he hasn't done, which is to win a World Series, which will completely cap off, for me, his Hall of Fame candidacy. Yeah, there's work to be done. Of course, there is with any player that's in the middle of his career, but he's had over 50 hits already this year. He's over 1,500 or pushing 1,500 for his career. He has a very realistic shot to get to 3,000. He's got a very realistic shot to get to 500. The only thing that's going to be missing from his resume is the World Series until he gets it here. So, and you could tell he's got a single track focus right now on winning. And that happens sometimes with players that have done everything else. He's accomplished everything. He's made the $300 million. He's won Gold Gloves. He's been on all-star teams. He's hit home runs. He's led teams to postseasons, whether that's Baltimore, getting traded to the Dodgers, helping the Padres in 2020, top 5 MVP finishes as well. I mean, he's done everything you can ask. And now the only thing still in front of Manny Machado is winning a World Series. And he's playing like a guy that's hungry. And I love seeing that because I think it's the hungriest he's ever been. We didn't see that in the second half of 2019 under Andy Green. I thought he did everything in his power last year to kind of keep this thing stable. We saw what happened as it spilled out in that dugout in St. Louis between Machado and Tatis. I think ultimately that was a sign of leadership from Machado a year ago. And I just think he continues to grow off the field. It's really impacting the Padres right now on the field. Another one of these guys like Musgrove, where it's like, if you have his health, how can you bet against the Padres? If the Padres rotation stays healthy, how can you bet against the Padres? That's why it just feels much more real to me right now than it did even a year ago. And now, I might be talking out of both sides of my mouth. I'm sure I would have told you last year when they were 35-19, they were a good team. I'm sure I told you that. They're coming off 37-23. I know I would have told you that. But now that I have the perspective and hindsight, I feel as if what happened in 2021 is a lot different than what is happening in 2022. Now, I can't guarantee it. They have 122 games to play. So I can't guarantee that it's going to finish any differently. I have no idea. They could win 109 games this year. I kid. Or they could win 79 games, and nobody wants to see that. But they won 79 games last year, despite that 35-19 start. There is this, Alex. I mean, I think there's something you said for this, and thank you guys for weighing in here in the chat. I mean, this is a really interesting thing with Machado. Who was it that we had on recently? Was it Scott Miller? It was Scott Miller with the New York Times. He wrote that really fascinating, the third baseman's gambit piece in the New York Times. Check it out. Google it. About Machado's infatuation with chess. That's going back years and years and years to Baltimore. Okay, so Machado clearly has a wrap around baseball, right? Fairly or unfairly, and has a reputation with fans as well, specifically fan bases other than the Padres, I would say, maybe the Orioles as well. Machado is one of the few baseball players in today's generation that is polarizing, right? That nationally is discussed, that can trend. When something happens that on a baseball field with some other player, if it happened with, Jake Cronenworth, it would get no national publicity. If it happened with Manny Machado, it would, right? I mean, we've seen that happen time and time again. What the rep was coming to San Diego, I don't think that's the player he is. I mean, I've watched every single game like all you have as well. I think it's an unfair reputation. I think he's mischaracterized, to be honest. And I think the reason I actually, though, am okay with his reputation and I'm okay when people say things like what Alex said, is I think that the only way he got to that point is because of how damn good of a baseball player he is. Like, nobody would care or hate or dislike Manny Machado if he wasn't the figure that he has been in the sport, which is someone that has taken the Orioles to the postseason multiple times, someone that was traded to the Dodgers, someone that signed a $300 million deal, someone that's finished in top 3 in MVP voting, someone that has made the Padres, a national brand along with Tatis and others. Like, it only happens. This is only possible when you have a brilliant player, kind of a one-of-one character for someone to even be disliked like this, like Manny Machado. And there's a lot of truth to it, Alex. You're right. You know what? And if he doesn't win an MVP because writers don't like him, if he doesn't make the first ballot because writers don't like him, I mean, we will always have our eyes and memories to know that, you know what? If you watched Manny Machado every single day, you watched a Hall of Fame caliber player. I think ultimately he's a Hall of Famer, by the way. I think he will be a Hall of Famer. I don't know if I would have said that 4 or 5 years ago when he first got here, but watching him every single day, watching him go about his business and watching him perform and play as consistently as he plays, and being a, two-way player, so to speak, as good as he is in the field, um, his ability to stay on the field, which very few players do, to his ability over the last handful of years. Um, he's as good as you're going to find. He's as good if you've been watching the Padres for the last 50 years, there's very few players that have been as good as Manny Machado. Can we agree with that? I mean, how many players have been better than Manny Machado offensively for the Padres over the history of the franchise? Very few. I mean, we can all agree with that. And it's one of those love-hate things. Carter's right. If he's on your team, you love him. And if not, he gets booed mercifully. And he does well with that. Yeah, I mean, everyone's envious of it. I think whenever there's an envy or jealousy, you get reactions that people get. Um, it is what it is. But if you've been watching like we've been watching, it's just like it's a joy to watch. I mean, it's an absolute joy to watch this guy play. It's just he makes it look so easy. He makes everything look so easy. And like Jesse said, thank you here, Jesse, for the super chat. There are people, I mean, non-Padres fans. I don't think there's any Padres fans that feel that way. I mean, I think he should be defended to the nth degree at this point. There have been some moments. Listen, I mean, Jim and I have mentioned it when he's had slow periods of time. We mention it. You need to perform better. They're paying you to be a leader in all areas, and that's why he's paid to perform. And right now he's performing, and he performed by and large last year. He was unbelievable for the final 2/3 of 2020 as well. This team looks nothing. It's unrecognizable without Manny Machado. This franchise is unrecognizable without Manny Machado. I mean, they're doing this without Fernando Tatis Jr., So what does that say? I think that's another feather in Machado's MVP cap right now, is that he's carrying a team without arguably even a better offensive player in Fernando Tatis Jr. I think Machado has said before, like, he's got the offensive tools that are, as good as anyone. I mean, and that's coming from a potential future Hall of Famer in Manny Machado. But you're right, Jesse. There's a lot of hate. This is a great point. This is a great point from our buddy. I think we were calling you Dot last night, our buddy Dot, or period. Reminds me of Ozzie Guillen's quote about AJ Pierzynski. If he's not on your team, you hate him. If he's on your team, oh no, you hate him a little less. No, if he's on your team, I mean, in that clubhouse, I guarantee they love him. I mean, there's absolutely no question. I've never heard anyone say anything other than the fact that he's a great teammate. I've never heard anyone other than that. I really haven't. That's interesting, Alex. Baseball is obviously such a different sport. It's so localized compared to basketball. Yeah, I think Kobe was, a villain outside of LA, right? In certain markets, no question about it. There's no question about that. That's an interesting comparison. What do you guys think of that? It's interesting. Michael, yes, thank you. If you are here tonight, hanging out Saturday night, solo edition of the wrap-up show, please subscribe. Really would appreciate that. We're doing this for you guys. So if you're a Padres fan, we would really appreciate it if you do subscribe. Going to get to these supers. Yeah, I agree, like, with Gabe. I mean, ultimately, players are defined by these types of things. I didn't need Tony Gwynn going into the Hall of Fame to know Tony Gwynn was a Hall of Famer. If Tony Gwynn was not in the Hall of Fame, it would change none of my opinion on Tony Gwynn. So, and I do think Machado will end up there. I don't know the path. I don't know the path. There'll be highs and lows. There'll be other moments still to come. There'll be controversies. There'll be slow. There'll be spells. There'll be good play. There'll be bad play. There'll be winning moments. There'll be losing moments. But I think ultimately he will get there. And I do agree with this, Phil. Writers having control of awards is a mistake. I do. I agree with that. I think it's a really good point. Okay, so let's get back to some of these supers. Pedro, thanks for hanging out. Thank you guys for the super chats. Really cool to hang out here on a Saturday night. Great. I mean, this has been fun to do every night, the way this team is playing. I thought about, hey, are we really going to be able to do it tonight? But I'm like, this team's playing such good baseball. There's so much I want to talk about. I want to talk about Joe Musgrove. I want to talk about this team, the defense, Ha-Seong Kim's defense. Holding on to small leads, doing it with Taylor Rogers here tonight. Despite, was it a leadoff single in the ninth inning? It was a leadoff single. I mean, they're just finding ways to win. It's cliche, but it's true. Pedro, thank you again for the super. He writes, is it fair to say the fan base will turn on Tatis if he comes back on a later timetable or injures shoulder during season? And then he asked for the opinion of the chat. What do you guys think? I don't listen, if Tatis has a situation that's related to his health, it's hard to be like overly critical. Like we're all human beings. We all know what it's like when you're under the weather or not healthy or are like it's it's everything. I mean, health is everything. Don't get me wrong. At some point, he's going to have to stay on the field for an extended period of time, like for 162 games or for 2 or 3 consecutive seasons. But I mean, if he comes back July 18th as opposed to June 18th, I'm not putting that on Tatis. I mean, the injury is unfortunate. We put that on Tatis months ago. The injury was unfortunate. No question about it. Disappointing. No question. But let's not rush him back. Let's make sure when he's back, he's 100%. And if he gets hurt again, it's like it's hard to be critical of someone if they get hurt, especially on a baseball field. Off a field, completely get it. Completely get it. And that's why we're more disappointed this offseason. And then the fact that it wasn't dealt with. I mean, that's a whole debacle. It really was, but at least they're playing good baseball. But I mean, chat, what do you think? I mean, are you going to potentially turn on Tatis based on his health? I think the only way you're really turning on Tatis is if there's another off-field injury. Or if, on the other side of these injuries, he's not the same player that we saw for the first 3 years of his big league career. But if he gets hurt on a baseball field, I'm going to say, well, you know what? It can happen. It can happen, and I wouldn't want to take away Tatis on a baseball field to keep him, you can't prevent injuries. You can't say, hey, don't steal bases. Don't keep 2 hands on the bat at all time. If only slide feet first. I mean, you got to let the guy play baseball. And when he plays baseball at his freest and loosest is when he's his best, in my opinion. So, like, dude, you can be standing in the box and get hit by a 99-mile-an-hour fastball in your face or on your, finger and be out for weeks and weeks and weeks. It's a sport, and it's a high-level sport. And some guys are able to avoid injuries, others aren't. And hopefully just because he has been hurt for the better part of the last 3 or 4 years doesn't mean he's going to be hurt for the next 3 or 4 years as well. But what do you guys think? Make sure to comment to Pedro's super chat down below. This is from Michael again. Michael, thank you again for the super chats tonight. Thank you for your support of this channel. We really do appreciate it. Michael says Machado's his favorite Padre right now. Could be my number 2 all-time favorite Padre. So I would say to Gwynn. Michael, follow up in the chat. Is that to Gwynn? Hoffman? Someone else? For me, when I watch it, I mean, what do you, if I'm being honest, my favorite Padre is Tatis. When he's on the field, there's nobody like him. He does something every single game. You're like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe that. But in terms of whose game do I respect the most right now, it's Manny Machado's. It's just like it feels like on field, he's humble and hungry at the same time. That's what I'm seeing right now. I'm just seeing a very motivated individual in the field and at the plate that's doing everything in his power to will his team to win. Who do I think is the most exciting player to watch for me personally? That it's Tatis, and because of that excitement, that probably is why he's my favorite. I mean, I'm wearing the hat, with the Tatis. I mean, there's something about him. I mean, I've watched baseball my whole life. I've seen very few people like Fernando Tatis Jr. in baseball or Manny Machado. But the way Fernando Tatis Jr. has this flair, it's something you just don't see if you watch this day in and day out for years and years and years. But it's 1 and 1A. And I think there's a lot of people that feel this exact same way, that Machado is, he's one of the greatest players in the history of this organization. And he's only been here for 4 years, parts of 4 years. But I think it's hard to argue that Manny Machado is not one of the greatest players to ever put on a Padres uniform. I think it's very hard to do that. Okay, let's get to some more chats here. Brisket's good question. I think it'll be a while, honestly, before he's ready to be an everyday player in the big leagues. I think he needs more seasoning. I wouldn't be surprised if it took another season and a half. Not to say he won't have big league service time over the next season and a half, but I wouldn't be discouraged if throughout 2022 and 2023, CJ Abrams is not the player that you hope he ultimately will be, because there are guys that have to go through this. Get a cup of coffee, go down, go through the trials and the tribulations. This is a really young player with very little professional experience. Judging CJ Abrams in 2022 on what he will be in 2024, 2025, in my opinion, is could be a mistake. There's no guarantees with anyone. I think he's going to look like a completely different player at one point. I still think he has to fill out his body. I still think he just needs plate appearances in the minors. I just think he needs professional plate appearances. I think he's going to be a very good defensive player with an above average bat, with a little bit of power that can run really well. That'll be a penciled in everyday player. I don't know where. I don't know if it's at short with this organization or in center field or somewhere else. But I'm very high on CJ Abrams, although I don't think it's soon. I don't. I think it's still a while off, if I'm being honest. There's some people weighing in on the super chat. Yeah, if we're winning, nobody's going to turn. Some people saying he should be DH. Yeah, and then there's this. I mean, nobody wants to see him come back early and get hurt. I'd rather see him come back July 18th and stay healthy than June 18th and get hurt. No question about that. No question about that. And yeah, you're right. You're right, Todd. I mean, this Fernando Tatis Jr. has his imprint on the city. So does Joe Musgrove. So does Manny Machado. But I mean, Tatis, it's just a little different. There's a little different vibe in the building, right? When he's going. I mean, it's like you can't miss a plate appearance of Fernando Tatis Jr. when he's going. Yeah. I mean, whether you're home watching on TV, I say that all the time to my wife. I'm like, let me know when Tatis is up. When you're there, I'm not going to the restroom. I'm not going to get food if Tatis is due up next inning. No way. I mean, Dot says this. If I guess any deals like that, Dot. Yeah. If you can't stay healthy, you're right. You know what? If he's hurt every single year, true, bad investment. If he stays healthy, could be a steal. Could be a steal because there's guys that are going to be making $500 million like Soto, and Tatis can be just as good of a hitter. But he's got to stay healthy. No, he has not had shoulder surgery. He has not, but he did have wrist surgery. Yeah, and then there's this from Jim. I think a lot of people feel the same way. I mean, until he does hold up for a season, there's a lot of reason to believe he won't hold up for a season. He's going to be into his fifth year, 2023, without having played a full season. Well, 2020, the 60-game year, that wasn't his fault. That wasn't his fault. But he's going to be into his fifth year before he's had an opportunity to play like 140 games in the big leagues. That's a concern. Now, this is a good point. He logged 130 last year. That's pretty impressive considering the shoulder and the IL stints. He should get credit for that, playing through the shoulder, overcoming some of those injuries in a shorter period of time. So he did get into 130. Can he get to the point where he's playing 140 plus for 2 or 3 years in a row? I think that's hopefully, the player that's the player they want. Okay, so here are the top 5 for Michael. Yeah, okay, here that's great, Michael. This is actually a great talking point. And we can hang out for, let's say, another 15 minutes here before I should probably call it a night. Put your top 5 in the chat so people can see them. Because Michael's are Gwynn, Hoffman, PV, Adrian, Gonzalez, and Machado. So Tatis is not in there for Michael, and that's a darn good list. Put your top 5 down below. Top 5 favorite Padres. Gwynn, Hoffman, PV, Gonzalez, Machado. I mean, for me, you got to start with Gwynn. For me, I'd have to start with Gwynn, Tatis, Machado, Hoffman, and then figure out a fifth. But that's a great list. That's a really good list. So thank you, Michael, again for the super. Yeah, put your top 5 in, guys. That's pretty cool. That's pretty fun. Other than that, Padres will turn to Mackenzie Gore tomorrow, looking for a series sweep in San Francisco. Remember, we were questioning whether the Padres were as good as their record because they hadn't played good teams. They were 24-14, but only 6 of those 38 games are against teams over 500. Now they've won back-to-back games against a team over 500, the Giants. They're 4-4 this year against teams over 500, which are the Giants and the Dodgers. So an opportunity, I think tomorrow, a huge opportunity for a road sweep. They've already guaranteed themselves a wonderful road trip with series wins in Atlanta and Philadelphia and San Francisco. Their first 3 series winning streak on one road trip since April 2019, I want to say. So just an excellent road trip. And then they'll get more. It gets harder. It gets trickier as this May gets into June. And you look at Milwaukee on the schedule, road trip to St. Louis and Milwaukee. I think the Mets are still to come, even though they're banged up, obviously, in the rotation. So it's not going to be easy. I don't know if they're going to play 26-14 every 40-game stretch and finish with what would the pace for that be? It's a pace for 104 to 105 wins. I don't know if it's going to happen. We can cross our fingers and hope that happens. There'll probably be some ups and downs over the course of a full 162. That's almost inevitable. unless you have a season like the Giants did last year or the Dodgers did a year ago. But I do know this: they're playing really well, and I don't care if it's because they're playing bad teams like Cincinnati or they're playing good teams like San Francisco. They're just playing good baseball, and I think that will carry through hopefully as we get into June and as they get Tatis back. And when they get Tatis back, it's a lift. They got Melvin back. I think it's a lift. They'll get the trade deadline. Hopefully this year that's a lift, unlike last year when it was not a lift. And let's just ride this out. Let's enjoy it, because there will be good days and there will be bad days. But right now they're playing really good baseball. Let me get to a few of these top fives you guys are just putting up here. Finley in Sienton's top five. This is a nice one. Current roster. I like this. Tatis, Manny, Musgrove, Darvish, and Chrismat. This is funny from Kevin. Yes, Sam, absolutely. Drunk Jim's top five would be like Steph Curry, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, Bob Melvin. Right? This is a good list. Look at this. Look at that. Old school list. I like it. This is fun. RJ making it in to Carter's. Cammy. Yep. Of course, Caminiti. A lot of Morahones and Gwynn. Good old school list here with Randy Jones and Dave Winfield. Just click through these here, guys. Get them on screen. Yeah, Tatis has got to be in mine. I know it's a short period of time. He hasn't played a lot of games in the Padres uniform, Fernando Tatis. Not a lot at all. Really hasn't. What is it? 250? Something like that. I mean, it's not a lot of games, but he's made an imprint. Oh, this is good to know, Phil. Arizona won. Now they are 500. Makes our record against 500 teams better. Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, that's helpful. Sam saying, can we get that 7-2 trip? Man, 7-2, defending world champs, the Phillies lineup, San Francisco off a 107 win season, playing good baseball too. Whew. I love this. Wrap up show top five. Love it. But yeah, really an excellent trip. It really has been. I said top five. Jeff, excluding current players, this is pretty cool. If you exclude current players, it's very cool. Alex, let me see here. When's the last time we swept a series against the Giants? It feels like the Giants have dominated us. It's funny you say that. I looked at the game notes yesterday, Alex. The Padres against the Giants since 2020, coming into the series, were 17-15. So the Padres dominated the Giants, I want to say, in 2020, held their own last year, and now they're – what are they this year against the Giants? 3-2. So they've played the Giants. They're 19-15 since 2020 against the Giants. This point is valid. There's no question. If we looked it up since 2010, they've been slaughtered by the Giants. But with that being said, they've actually played them half decently over the last 3 years, better than half decently at 19-15. I don't know the answers. I have no idea. A couple of more just to run through. No, I don't know if Frazier's going to make that list. Maybe Manuel, maybe. I don't know. If he brings the title to this town, probably not. Is that what he did? He separated his shoulder? Top five current players no longer with the Padres, maybe. Kevin Brown, no question. Honorable mention for Templeton. France, we spent a lot of time on this earlier. I mean, yeah, I think that they have no choice but to keep Joe Musgrove. And if it means at the expense of another piece, then it's at the expense of another piece. But I don't see how you can go into 2023 without Joe Musgrove. I don't. I mean, I guess if you told me you had Manaea and Clevenger, you'd still be in a good position. You would. You'd be in a really good position. You'd have a good rotation. Theoretically, if Darvish is still healthy, if Snell is effective, with Gore, we'll see about Martinez. You'd have a good rotation. You have Morahoe. You got other players, in your system. I think they could help. We've talked about before. But He's a linchpin. He's a keystone. I keep using those words because I think he is. I think it's different without him. I really do believe that. I think it's a different rotation and a sizably different one without Joe Musgrove. I do believe that. And I don't know if he's always going to pitch this well for the next 5 years, but he's a mainstay. He can make 30 starts and he can give you, 20 quality starts, and he gives you chances to win games. Now people are just weighing in with everything. Yeah, this is interesting, Sam. That is a good point. Thankfully, we don't have that. Let me just run through a few more for you guys. Bochy, of course, didn't play, but Drunk Jims. Yeah, Nick Bosa would be in there, definitely. Larry Joe, thanks for hanging out, Larry Joe. Great to have you with us. Long time listener, viewer, supporter, interactor on social media. By the way, if you're looking for even more content from us, at John Schaefer on Twitter, at Jim Russell SD, at John and Jim, we're Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We're pretty active. We're on YouTube. Again, please subscribe if you're here live. Please subscribe if you're here on replay. Please hit that thanks button. We greatly appreciate it as well. Wow, look at this. 8-2 against the Giants in 2020. So that means there was at least one sweep in there. If you went 8-2 in 3 series, at least one sweep in there in 2020. So 8-2, which means even since 2020, though, guys, because they're 4 games over 500 since 2020, that means they're only 2 games under 500 against the Giants since the start of 2021. I mean, they've played them. They've played them decently well. They really have. Thank you, Faye. So you're supposed to be studying for, what's an RT license? What's an RT license? Should I know what that is? Put that in the chat. And thanks for hanging out. Greg Vaughn, sure. Great name from the past. All right, so here it is, iOS guy in that 2020 season. 3-game sweep. Very cool. Thanks for looking that up. I don't know, Pedro. I don't know on the 5th. I'm more of a recent history guy. I've only been here for 6 years. Obviously Tony Gwynn would be at the top of my list. I think I have to put Hoffman on that list. And then from there, I got Machado and Tatis on that list. I mean, I could give you a crazy name if you wanted me to. And again, it would be recency bias. And it's not top 5 in the history of the franchise. But, I mean, Joe, if Musgrove sticks around here for the next half decade, he'd be in a lot of top 5 lists if he can stay healthy. And again, it's recency bias. I'm talking after, he went 7 shutout innings against the Giants. But, again, he means a lot to this organization is what I'm saying. Is he top 10? He's probably in a lot of top 10 or top 15 lists. He's got work to do, obviously, to be in the top 5 in Padres history. But there's only one pitcher that threw a no-hitter. Faye, I could probably use a respiratory therapist because I've been sick for 3 weeks. But good luck in your studies. And thanks for hanging out with us. Some people are saying it's a radiology technician, but I think Faye probably knows since she's studying for it. But maybe that's also an RT. I don't know. Radiology technician. Okay. Yeah, Sam, thanks for hanging out. I'm going to get running, guys. This has been fun. Again, thank you for your support of this channel. Again, please subscribe. We have year-round Padres content. Like I want to do, I'll do the shameless plug on the way out. I like to do this on the way out. Some of you guys have asked about it. A lot of you guys have picked it up. Some of you guys tweet about it. We do have merch, which is pretty cool. If you like the wrap-up show, we do have merch. If you like John and Jim, our radio show, we also have John and Jim merch, caps, T-shirts, sweatshirts, John and Jim, wrap-up show in here. Lots of different items available for you. Most of it pretty affordable. We don't set the prices, but caps for $20 and mugs for $15 and sweatshirts for 30-something bucks and water bottles and magnets and stickers. But if you want to support this channel, this is a great way to do it. And we've appreciated those that have picked up some of the merch over the course of the last couple of months. So yeah, we do have merch. There's a link down below. In fact, I'll put a link in the chat on the way out as well. If anyone wants to click on it late night on this Saturday evening, check it out. And let me answer a couple of these questions. We do not have a Discord. I use Discord here and there. DEF CON, I don't know a ton about it, if I'm being honest. I think it'd be pretty cool. I think it's a great way to interact. I do. And I do some interaction with some people that way. But we do not have a Discord because we kind of interact with people nightly on YouTube. We interact with people daily on Twitter. We interact with people on the radio from 3 to 6 Monday through Friday, an extra 1360 here in San Diego on the iHeartRadio app. But it would be another good medium probably to use as well. Good question. Good question. Let's see if a title comes during his time. So do I. I've watched it a lot. That's a good point. Thank you, Faye. Appreciate that. Thank you, Jim. That's why we do it. And then this, Retod, thank you for the super chat here on the way out. Whiskey and lemon. I've done everything, man. I've been taking, I got like a inhaler back here. I got nasal sprays for allergies. I'm 100% better than I was 2 weeks ago, but I have tried usually once a year. This happens to me once a year. Chamomile teas and this, and I don't know what the hell it is. It's something, but thank you for the suggestion. Thank you for the super chat. I don't know if we'll have whiskey tonight. I probably have chamomile tea though on the way out. All right, let's see here. Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of people use Discord for crypto. That's funny. And then Defcon saying, okay, you guys need one. It's super easy to keep community together and your notification can directly get to us. Let's build up the community. I'll talk to Jim about it. I mean, I really do appreciate the suggestion, Defcon. Yeah, who knows? Maybe we'll have like someone, I don't even know, manage it on our behalf. There's only so many hours in the day, but I like the idea of it. I do like the idea of it. Okay, thank you guys again for hanging out. I know a lot of people are heading out because it's 10:15 at night, 1 o'clock in the East. Please support this channel by subscribing. We have year-round Padres content. Again, if you're here on replay, you can hit that thanks button, hit the notification bell. You'll be notified when we have videos or go live. Please smash the like button on this video. Please follow us on Twitter at John Schaefer, at Jim Russell SD. Please support our partners. Seriously, we're unable to do this without our partners. Mark Nimitz at Farmers Insurance. He can save you $750 on your insurance and a whole lot more than that if you ever have a claim. A whole lot more. He's a San Diegan and a lifelong Padres fan. The link for his site is down below. Great supporter of this channel. Lifelong Padres fan. Lives and dies on this stuff. And is also, of course, a San Diegan as well. So any insurance needs, auto, home, renter's life, earthquake, please call Mark Nimitz. If you have any health supplement needs, probiotics, proteins, omega-3 oils, sleep supplements, immunity supplements, Ora. Their co-founder, Will, is a San Diegan and a huge Padres fan. That's why we have these partners with us, because they're supporters of our content. We've had opportunities to work with people that are from outside. We want to work with people from the inside. So Ora Organic. If you have any needs, they can improve your health here in 2022. All right, guys, this has been fun. Thank you, Frank. Appreciate it. Really do. I do appreciate it. Dot, thank you. Virginia, thank you for the suggestion for vitamin C crystals. Okay, I like it. Thank you again, Defcon. Carter, thank you. All right. All right, guys. Until next time. We'll see about tomorrow. My buddy actually, I'll figure out a time for tomorrow. Should be able to do it tomorrow. My buddy is a first-year radio voice of the Brewers. I went to high school with him at Lower Merion, Josh Maurer. He's doing like 60 or 70 games this year for the Brewers. They're getting in town tomorrow night, so I'm going to see him tomorrow night downtown. I'll get him on the show at some point Monday or Tuesday. Another one, someone I used to work with in the minor leagues, Jeff Levering, is now like a primary radio voice for the Brewers. He's also with them. So we'll get some Brewers content for you because the Brewers are in town Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. But we will be back with you later this weekend and certainly next week for that Brewers-Padres series. And until next time, this has been the Wrap-Up Show presented by Mark Nimitz at Farmers Insurance. Thank you, guys. Have a good one.